Welcome to the League. Welcome to the League, a DBNC business talk show where bold ideas meet bottom lines and doing business in Nigeria moves from potential to playbook. I am Coach LindaUneze, your host, and I have with me my co-hosts, Chioma Mbanigo. Hi, Chioma.
Hi, Linda. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Pleasure to be doing this with you today.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to our conversation today with our special guest. I'm sure the viewers are as well. So on today's episode, we'll be exploring how Proptech is transforming property management in Nigeria. And we have a very special guest who is currently the CEO and founder of Venco Incorporated in the person of Chude Osiegbu. Hi, Chude.
Hi, Linda. It's a pleasure to be here.
A pleasure to have you, Chude. So just moving into the conversation, right, Chude, I love what you're doing with Venco. I'm a fan with what you're doing because I think it's really unique. So what inspired you to start Venco, and how did your personal experience shape the idea behind the platform?
So I was inspired to start Venco from living in a multi-tenanted community in Port Harcourt. At the time, I was working in the upstream oil and gas business and lived in a community that had about 1,000+ units. However, it was a new development. There wasn't really any structure or order in the place, and it became quite obvious that they needed some sort of management information system. In my other life, something called an SAP consultant, so I build and maintain management information systems for companies. So I was able to pull on that experience to kind of build a very rough draft of what has become Venco today. And initially, it was to solve problems around a directory of properties and a directory of residents, and then over time started to add more and more features like payments, collections, utilities vending, access control, and the likes. So I was right in the middle of it, so I could see the challenges that the community was facing, and we were able to address those issues. And coming to Lagos, I was having conversations with friends, and they all seemed to have the problem in their communities that we had solved in that first community in Port Harcourt. And that's where the idea to start to commercialize the platform came. So that's kind of how we started on that journey.
I mean, that's an interesting journey. Thank you, Chude, for sharing that with us.
Quite interesting hearing what the inspiration is, because property management, as we know it in Nigeria, is quite fragmented. It's quite manual. What would you say makes Venco's approach to property management unique for Nigeria?
What we are finding is that with increasing urbanization, more and more people are living in multi-tenanted communities, right? So we call them estates or apartment blocks, and all of that. So the first thing is that we've catered and, optimized our solution for those types of environments. And we're really looking and speaking to the stakeholders in these types of communities, because we believe that they will become the predominant way in which people choose to live. And who are the stakeholders? The stakeholders are the operators of the communities. These could be developers, facilities managers, and home and residence owners associations. And basically, they have a problem today. Today, they are managing residents, but many of them are doing it manually, and we are then seeing that the effectiveness of those manual approaches, isn't really great. So take the basics of things like collecting service charges for the upkeep of the environment. Many people today will be using manual methods where they'll maybe use a WhatsApp group to spread the information that dues are due. But then once those payments have been made, somebody has to go and manually do bank statement reconciliation and all of those types of things. For anything more than a 10-unit community, that's a very manual and error-prone process. and that benefits from automation, from digitization. Also, things like security, right? There are very basic ways to kind of improve security in these types of communities through the popular code-based access that a lot of estates now use, but also through integration into physical access devices like boom bars, turnstiles, many of the types of things that you typically see in corporate settings in an office, but they're now coming into residential communities because people are used to those things from, maybe like their offices, and they see the benefit that they provide in terms of, security in the community, or at least making sure that the people who are getting into the community are those who are wanted. So basically, I think that speaking to the needs of the stakeholders in this community is really the approach. It's very easy when you're doing a startup, for example, to have a vision in your mind that you build to that may not necessarily resonate with the needs on the ground. So one of the things that we do at Venco is that we are constantly in touch with the customer, trying to understand what the living situations are, where they are, and then essentially just building to answer the questions that customers have, or the needs that they have. One very good example is a concept that we've built called revenue assurance. Revenue assurance is a way to embed an accounting and a financial management system within, or a ledger within the platform, such that if people are not meeting up to their obligations, they are automatically prompted and reminded, to do so through the use of an app, or through the use of broadcasting that information on WhatsApp, or by email. Now, being able to tie together those things in a way where it's automatic, right, and someone doesn't necessarily have to go and be manually prompting you, then improves and speeds up the feedback that residents have when they are not up to date. It helps them to plan their expenses if you're able to push that information out even before they are due, right? And all of these tend to then just improve the rate of collections, and rate of collections has a direct relationship with the quality of upkeep of, operation of the community. So for us, it's really just listening to the customers, observing how things go in the communities, and then building stuff that kind of answers those questions directly.
Oh, interesting. I think that really hits a nail on the point. It's not just that you're putting out products, but you are answering questions or challenges that communities have. Exactly. And I guess that makes you ever evolving with your operations. Quite interesting.
So beyond security, you mentioned communication. So security is accessing the estate. So you have communication. You also have expense planning, in a way.
Yes, budgeting.
Budgeting as well. What else does your application do? So we have security, communication, budget planning. What else?
Yeah, so it's utilities vending.
Okay.
Billing and collections and reconciliation of payments. Then, of course, the access control that you spoke about, a communications platform for sending out broadcasts, issue management, for allowing residents in the communities actually, state what their problems are, and being able to track the life cycle of those problems from when they were raised to when they were resolved. Of course, there's an accounting, underpinning to the whole platform, so that communities can actually report on, the financial activity within them. Many times, there's a fraught relationship between the operator of the community and the residents. It's not because the operators want to be shady or anything. They just don't have the tools. And so when they are asked for information and data, the amount of time that it takes, right, promotes distrust, especially in low trust environments. But we are building out other things as well. So we've just launched a marketplace. One of the things about communities is that they all tend to be buying, the residents in the communities all tend to be buying the same things, right? So we are trying to push out a concept of group buying, where if I'm buying seaway water and 100 other people in my community are buying the same seaway water, I hope that's not an ad, but but basically, they're able to buy as a group or buy individually if they want, and because they are buying in bulk, then they can kind of get better deals in terms of the costing or pricing of the community. So by the time the marketplace is fully launched, we want it to be where you get all your groceries, all your toiletries, food, stuff like that. We are an operating system for the community that basically gets into all the households in the communities, and then we are trying to see what other problems can we solve for these households beyond the core remit.
Amazing. So for the property managers and the residents, individuals who are listening in, they would want to know how Venco platform works and the pain points that it solves for these respective stakeholders, property managers and residents. So could you talk us through how the platform works and what pain points it solves? Yes.
Yeah, so basically the platform has, there's a back end to the platform, a dashboard that is deployed mainly for the operator of the community, that's FM developer, homeowner association. And then there are 3 apps. There's an app for the residents, there's an app for the administrators, especially facilities managers on the field, so that on the go they can actually see things that are happening in the estate. And then there's an app for the security, which is used by the security personnel at the access and exit points of the communities. So if you are a new estate looking to onboard on Venco, all you need to do is go on our site and basically indicate interest, fill in a form, and once you filled in that form, we'll spin up a site for you and send you all the information to help you onboard yourself, but we'll also get in touch with you to take you through that process, training and all of those types of things. And for the residents, they will also receive instructions to self-onboard, and once they do that, they'll be able to use the app to access services. So what are the pain points that we're solving? For the residents, for example, we are making it easier for them to access services in the community. Take an example, purchasing energy or utilities, because many communities also use us for water, to vend water on water meters. Without a platform like Venco, what you'll likely be doing is that anytime you run out of power, you'll have to go to an estate office or a facility management office somewhere. If it's on a weekend or on a public holiday, you're likely not going to find anyone there, which means that you either have to start begging people to come and vend for you, or you'll just have to wait in darkness till, when work resumes. But we're doing self-service vending. So at any point in the day, you wake up, there's no power. You'll just, vend on the app and get the power. If you use our meters, so at Venco, we sell and finance prepaid utility meters. So that's one of the other services that I didn't mention previously. So the meters are CapEx, right? And for a suitably or reasonably sized estate, they may not have the cash flow to pay for 100, 1,000, 2,000 meters all at once. So as Venco, one of the things we do is that knowing that the meters will work with our platform only, we're happy to front you the meters and then recover the cost of the meters from the vending, that you do. So these are some of the pain points we're also fixing for communities, making these types of investments accessible to them. And it's not just for meters, it's even for access control devices like the boom bars and turnstiles. So anything that we can tie its operation to our platform, we are happy, to finance. Of course, with you having met all the requirements for that. Of course, we also, some of the pain points that residents have is that transparency thing that we spoke about. And on the apps, we're able to give them access to the financing activity, the accounting activity, so that they are up to date with all the information that is happening. There's tons of things. I don't know how much time we have to talk about them, but yes,
one can tell that you're really proud of your product. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Definitely. I think you mentioned some of the challenges that these communities currently face. Which, you mentioned transparency, accountability, round-the-clock access to your needs as a community member. What would you say are the challenges that you face at your startup, so at Venco, with regards to building a tech startup in some way that is very traditional, manually done, quite fragmented, and now you're making it easier, as it were. You've brought technology into it. What are your core challenges that you have faced, and what, how have you overcome, if you have, and how are you overcoming if you are still?
But we are always overcoming. So today is not really that challenging. So, a number of things are kind of moving us all in that direction. As an example, I'd already said how urbanization is increasing and these types of communities are becoming more and more popular. But the adoption of technology in the society is also becoming more popular. So more and more we are becoming a mobile first type of, societies and economies. So I think it's kind of par for the course that over time people will expect. In fact, it will be strange when you go to a community and they don't have any kind of app that you use to, access services within the community. So I think adoption is increasing. We are seeing more demand for, the things that we're building. So there's not a lot of convincing that needs to be done. Perhaps if there's any convincing, the convincing is between which of the available products in the market, to use, and how do you get people to see yours as, more mature, more flexible, and all of that. For us, the way we are dealing with that is, I think the key differentiator between us and most of the other people in this space is the quality of our customer service and customer experience. So we've invested a lot in that. We have a customer support team of about 12 people now spread between Nigeria and Kenya. And we kind of place a high premium on the quality of support because, there will be issues. I mean, speaking about challenges, as well, we have essentially integrated many different services from payment gateways to vending service to accounting to access control and kind of blended them into one platform. At any point in time, any of those, things can fail. We've all had the challenges where we are trying to make a transfer to a bank. Maybe they are doing some sort of upgrade on their software and, you just can't get it to work. And of course, that then has a knock-on effect on, a platform. So those are some of the other types of challenges. But, when you bring together all of these things, knowing that in the midst of potential failure of any one of the components, you still want to present a good picture to the customer. It means that you have to invest a lot in customer experience and customer support. Other types of challenges are really just the challenge of being an entrepreneur in somewhere in Africa. So you have a talent pool that is somewhat shallow. Of course, you have environmental factors. And then you also have expectations of, employees. For example, things like hybrid work, fully remote work, trying to balance all of those things and still being a productive organization is no mean feat, but it's what you signed up for as an entrepreneur here. So those are some of the types of challenges that we face.
Interesting.
Yeah, doing business in Nigeria can be tough, really.
Tell me about it.
But I always say doing business anywhere in the world can also be tough as well. Doing business generally is not easy.
It's not easy, yes.
It's not easy. You have to be very dogged, resilient, know your onions. One of the guests we spoke to in one of the other episodes said you have to connect ambition with sustainability. Yeah. And that can sometimes be really tough, So with what you've done so far, the way you have scaled beyond Nigeria to other countries like Ghana and Kenya is really impressive. Really, really impressive. So what strategies have helped you scale across these various markets?
Okay. So I think really you just put it down to partnerships. So today, Venco is in more than 460 communities. with almost, but our key metric is really the number of households across those communities. So we're approaching 40,000 property units across them. A significant number of them are still in Nigeria, but we have a growing number in Kenya and Ghana. And the way we were able to make inroads in Kenya and Ghana is that we found people who were interested in what we're building, who could identify with it, either because they lived in the types of communities that we serve in those environments. And we were lucky to find one or two good partners who kind of helped to show us the ropes around those communities, because there are cultural differences, there are differences in behavior and expectations across these three countries. But I think when you have a good local partner, who is either acting as an advisor, or a premium customer, right, then it really helps, because they can kind of ease you into those environments. And again, despite the cultural differences, the challenges that are being faced and the trends across all of these places are the same. Urbanization is increasing. So I don't know if if you've been to Nairobi, when you look at those places, if you've been to Accra, for example, the volume of real estate development going on, in this form factor of multi-resident is really large, and sooner or later they will also, have the same requirements as us. So really it's partnerships, it's finding the correct partner in there. Sometimes you have to iterate, so we haven't always found the correct partner the first time, but then you gauge what the outcome is, and then you go out and look for for those who fit the picture of your growth picture in those environments. And again, you just keep iterating until it works out.
So getting the feedback from your stakeholders is key as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Plugging that back into your business for growth.
Yeah,
Very
sure.
interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, you just mentioned that adoption of your solutions are growing. What would you say? We're looking at Proptech right now as it is evolving. If you look at Nigeria and if you look at the rest of Africa, where do you think this is going to be in the next 5 years? And what role do you think Venco plays in this ecosystem of taking Proptech to the next level in the future?
Okay, great. So I can speak about, so Proptech is a continuum, right? It speaks to everything from financing, building, operating, the property. So we are in the area of the spectrum that has to do with operating the community. As I said, the trends are upwards. Urban areas are seeing a lot of development. They're seeing land is not increasing, but population is increasing. Because of that, for the for economic, societal, economic, communal, and security reasons, a lot of people are choosing that multi-tenanted community format to develop in. So I can only see it increasing. I can only see adoption of platforms like Venco increasing. I can see us also kind of increasing the scope of what we do. So today we are helping communities streamline their collections, mostly service charges and utilities payments. I suspect that the trend for things like monthly rent will start to kick in. And when those things start to kick in, we'll be able to play in those places because we've kind of already built the infrastructure for collections. We've already spoken about the marketplace thing. So I see all of these things converging to kind of guarantee, increased adoption of Proptech solutions generally, and solutions like Venco and Venco specifically.
So, before you go, we always like to ask our guests this question, right? Let's say you have just 120 seconds in a room filled with overwhelmed entrepreneurs. What would be your words to them?
It would be to encourage them. It's not a path for everybody. So naturally, you still have to come back to that resilience and make them understand that even when things don't seem to be going right, it's just a question of keeping at it, right? The journey is not an easy one, but when you stick at it, you see the rainbow, or the golden pot at the end of the rainbow, eventually. Also, having the right people to work with is literally the difference between burning yourself out and being able to focus strategically and deliver the things that you need to deliver. However, it's I'd spoken to the talent pool not being that rich here, so it does take some effort to find like minds to work with. In my own experience, I think that and we've been doing Venco as Venco since 2022. I think that my advice there would be not to hurry to choose collaborators, partners, team members, right? Because making a mistake with the wrong choice, it doesn't only slow your progress, it can actually set you back. Sometimes it's better to just go it alone till you find the correct partner. Don't manage. For me, I think that would be like the most insightful thing I can say on the topic. But a hard journey is made easier with people of like mind. Wait until you find the right person, and always be recruiting. Yeah.
You've said so many things, right? so many things that are quite helpful. But there are two things I'm taking with me. The first one is that a hard journey is made easier with the right partners, with the right set of people. And there's also another thing you said, is the hard truth, right? Some people might not want to listen or agree, but the hard truth, you said, the journey is not for everyone.
At all.
You can actually add value as an employee as well. Entrepreneurship is not a journey for everyone. I like that. Chuma, is there anything?
I think for me it was don't manage.
Absolutely.
As simple as that is, it has a lot of layers to it, because when you start to manage, you start to deliver below par, below what it is that you should give. Exactly. And if you don't give your best, if you're not able to solve a problem in the optimal way, then who are you to demand any kind of compensation for that? Sure. Don't manage. I think that really, it has a lot of layers. If you manage, you can't give your best.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much today. It's been an interesting conversation. It's been interesting having you, and I'm sure Chuma agrees with that.
Definitely.
Likewise, our audience as well. We look forward to just having you in a different capacity very soon. Maybe when we're having the development program with our business community, we can bring you back as a coach. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thanks for having me, guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure.
To our viewers, we hope you have enjoyed the session with the founder and the CEO of Venco Incorporated. My name is LindaUneze, and my co-hosts, Chuma and Banigo. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and see you soon.